So what's your definition of a biter?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty clear cut. I mean, a biter is somebody that just takes and takes and takes and doesn't give back to the culture. We call them culture vultures also, you know. They're just picking at everybody's stuff and trying to get fame off of other people's creations, other people's hard work, trying to take the easy route, you know. And there's some amazing biters out there, you know, like sick ass biters, man. They're fucking dope, but they're not dope. You know what I mean? But people around the world, they look at him and be like, "Man, he's the best," but they don't know like how much he's biting. Like, doesn't have one creative bone in his body, you know. But these are the guys that we think are the best. So yeah, it's crazy, man. But athlete-wise is what I mean. Like, there's some great athletes. And they can like watch something and like put it in slow motion and learn pretty much almost anything they want to learn, I guess. You know, but they can't learn how to dance or be original. You can't learn that type of stuff, you know. It's in you or it's not. You can tell who's faking it and who's not. You know. The question was, what about biters?
What's your definition of it?
Definition of a biter. Yeah, that's in long terms. That's pretty much it, man. Just somebody who's not original, and usually wants to get some quick fame. You know, they'll bite a lot of people's stuff. Follows a biter is a follower, follows trends. You know, I've seen people. It's crazy. I've seen like people that were original and dope, had their own things going on, creating things. I've seen them conform to being somebody else, trying to be somebody else, being a biter. Went from being an original to being a biter because it's in style. And you know, if you're not biting and doing the latest trends, then you fell off. You're whack, you know? So they can't deal with that pressure and stay true to themselves. So they become biters. And it's crazy to say that because, to me it's crazy because I'm like, yo, do you understand? You are original, you were original, and you know, not everybody has that. So you had that, you're blessed. And then you went off and did that? Like, damn, okay. But I think sometimes it takes time, years for people to realize some stuff, you know. So in the future, maybe they'll get it.
But nowadays, though, like, there's so much crazy shit that's out there now, and it kind of gets to the point where you don't know what else is able to happen. So then, now that we're in this age, how is it possible to be an original dancer with all of this other stuff happening?
Okay, well, right now I feel sorry for people who are in breaking right now because you have that problem now, right? You have too much information, and no matter what, information is gonna affect you. You know, like even advertisements. Like, you know, we don't even know, but we're subconsciously hit by so much advertisements that it affects the way we think, affects the way we move. You know, and it's not left to our own self to like think about what do we want to do, or you know, or run with a concept, because so many concepts are coming in influencing us. So that's what's happening with breaking too, right? And I think the only way is if a dancer can approach breaking and say, okay, you know what? I see all this stuff, but I choose to be ignorant, right? Like, you have to kind of choose to be ignorant, and those are people who stand out the most now. For example, you might say someone like Pocket, right? Like you know, Pocket or Issue, right? As an artist, right? You're gonna have art. To be an artist is living for a timeless future, right? You're thinking, okay, I want to be known later. And so currently artists are starving. All artists are starving in the moment. They're hungry. People usually don't say, oh, that's so awesome, whatever, right? But it's later on where people go, wow, and you get appreciated later. So too many b-boys are kind of like, they want to have that fame now, and they're just basically chasing the wave. Instead of okay, floating and doing your own thing, waiting for that perfect wave to come, and then you're on it and on top, you're chasing that wave, right? Like you're swimming after the trend, you know. And so that's that's the problem. So to be an original dancer, you have to say, okay, I want to do my own thing right now. Yes, you have to look at other things and say, okay, he does that, but don't look at it like, okay, I want to do that in my dancing. You have to look at it like, if I battle him, how am I going to respond? And this is a big thing that's lost in breaking, right? Like the response of breaking. Like before, if I saw someone, like, for example, Orb, right? He has this upside down style. It doesn't mean like, okay, I'm going to start practicing upside down style. No, it's, I'm going to make up some response that if he ever does that against me, this will be my response. Or if someone has a really strong move, then I'm going to think, okay, what will I do? Maybe I won't be strong, but I'm going to think of some balancing or something that I can respond to his stuff. So, yeah. So those are the main things, One, ignorance is bliss, do what you want to do. Number two is just, okay, if you want to look at other people, look at them, but look at them as opponents rather than rather than they're your hero and you want to break like them, So.
I think the mentality, you mean to develop to develop original stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, for you to develop original stuff, I think in breaking, it's obviously it's still possible, it's not like it's impossible. It's just, I feel like today it's a lot easier for you to develop what would be considered a dope style back in the 90s. It's easier for you to pick it up now because you can just take and see so much, But even today, I still think that, you can be a very original b-boy, and it doesn't mean that you have to be the guy that's super flexible. You can still be simple and be original too, I think it has to do with the way you take your time. I think it has to do with the way you learn to dance. If you learn it and you want to be, if you learn it and you already want to be big right away, you want to be on the big stage competing on all these big events, and you want to be doing all the big moves that you see on YouTube or wherever you're getting your inspiration from. If you're doing all those big moves, then you're not learning the concept of breaking. You're not learning the concept of being original in breaking. Those moves are important because those moves, it's okay to learn the air flares, the windmills, the 90s, the headspins. The universal stuff is good to learn, but it's what are you going to do with those moves? That's the real question, Like, what are you going to do with those moves? How are you going to change those moves for you to have your own original moves? Because all those moves are going to help you create, those moves are what's going to help you create your stuff. So, not necessarily that you have to do a flare 90, but you can maybe do a flare freeze transition that nobody's doing, It comes from the same cloth. Like, if I do flare 90, that means I got to flare and go to my hands and spin, right? If I want to get creative with that, what I do flare, and then I find the transition to the top, to my hands, and then maybe I decide to freeze or do some kind of move with my hands instead of 90, and so then that alone already changes the variation of the move and it makes it look different. So there's ways to be original still, and I think it just has to do with the way you learn and the way you take your time with the dance. And I think you really have to go after what you enjoy doing. If you like getting the crowd's applause for hopping on your hands, and that's cool too. There's nothing wrong in that. That's just what you like to do. But if you want to be original and you want to leave an impact on the dance, I think you really have to find those moves that give you confidence. Find those moves that give you self-confidence in what you do. If you do a move and you like the way it makes you feel, but then the guy is standing when you're doing moves, like I said, it's about really finding those moves that give you self-confidence in what you're doing. So, if you do something that you like and the way it makes you feel, it's like it gives you confidence to do something even better the next round, then that's like where you start to find what the dance is to you. Because it's easy to just, there might be like 5 guys in the room, or in a cypher, and 2 of them don't like your move, but then 3 might like your move, It doesn't matter in the end, but you should do it because you enjoy doing the move more than anything else. Yeah, I think that's how you really start to find your creativity.
As somebody who competes all over the world, and you've seen a lot of dancers that they have a lot of power moves, but maybe haven't composed it in the best way in their sets and everything. How should we be able to mix our power moves into our breaking without having people think that power moves is just gymnastics, or there's no musicality to it and everything like that?
then you have to go. I think personally, if you do a lot of power, and you want to mix it up so that people don't think you only do power, you have to go back to the roots, and that's the dance. You know, you have to dance before you do your power. You dance. You show the people you can dance, so the people will forget that you actually do power moves, and then when they at least expect it, then you show your power moves. That's how I think is the smart way of mixing those two together. And of course, how you do your power moves, you can do your power moves with style, and you can dance to the music in your power moves. Because basically, power moves is kind of like a pirouette. You know, pirouette, people are just spinning on their feet. It's basically a spin, but a very creative spin, and it evolved to very complex spins in a way. It's still a dance. So, you know, look at people, how do they do a pirouette on the music, and try to do that with your power moves. And that's a great way of using power moves with style without trying to look like, oh man, I got style, you know what I mean? Without overdoing it or faking it, you know what I mean? So, but these things come with time and experience, for sure.
Yeah. Start looking outside the dance, you know? Start doing some research. You know, start looking at like the different generations of b-boys that came before you, the different timelines, the different time periods. People don't want to do their homework anymore. So they just look at what's going on right now, and so you got more people doing what's going on right now, because that's what's popular, that's the trend. So that's why people all look the same and break the same, and they just need to venture out and, like I said, and do some homework and really just watch and be inspired by different things, not just your favorite b-boys, to want to put them in slow motion and take verbatim, move for move, style for style, everything they're doing. Not that type of studying. I'm not talking about that kind of studying, you know. And honestly, it's hard because not people. It's like you just can't wake up one morning and be like, I'm gonna be original now. You know, it just doesn't work like that. You gotta have that creative process, that creative mindset that a lot of people just don't have. You know, they could be amazing at things. They could be like, not just breaking. We're talking about in life now. You know, you have your creative people and you have your hard workers. You know, hard workers can be amazing and, you know, get far, but they're not reinventing the wheel. You know, they're just doing what's already been done. So basically, yeah, it's tough because original individuals, there's very few of them, you know, in all walks of life, not just b-boying.
Have you got any advice then for people that are wanting to try new things and freestyle a lot more, but feel that the things they're doing are like a little different or just a little incomplete?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I look at freestyling, there's different perspectives for me to look at freestyling. A true freestyler is somebody that does something that they've never done before. That's a true freestyle. When you do something, when you go out and do a run and you do moves, that means you don't do a windmill, that means you don't do a six-step, that means you don't do things you've already done before. That's a true freestyle. But the way that we break and the way I break when we say freestyle, when I say freestyle, it's more like I'm playing with different moves. So I'm taking a windmill here, and then I'm doing an elbow freeze here, and then I'm doing a backspin here, and I'm doing a transition here. So for you, what I would recommend, somebody that wants to experiment with intertwining their moves in a different format every time, is like try to envision, like think of like 5 dope moves you got in your brain before you go out. You know, think of like 5 of your favorite moves and try to connect them all differently and when you go out, and don't follow in order. So think of 5 moves, but then as you're dancing, let the moves come out the way they feel right there, and then start connecting. You know, find yourself to the move. Find yourself this way to that move, then go this way to that move, then come back to this move. That way you're playing, and in between the moves, that's where you're doing most of the freestyle. You have to do footwork, you have to do power, you have to do steps, you have to do transitions, you have to do go ups, go downs, different variations of footwork, you know. and then you throw your move, and then you get out of that move, and then you go to the next move. But in between that, going to the next move, there has to be some kind of content drop there, and that's how you start to really understand how you freestyle.
That's amazing.